The Washington County Jail, better known as the Kingston Jail. Although for many years known as the Kingston Jail, the first Washington County Jail was not located at Kingston, but at Tower Hill, near what is now the junction of Tower Hill and Torrey Roads. With a few people, a new church, and most of the civic activity centered there, about 1725 the Colonial Assembly voted that a small courthouse with a jail nearby be erected at Tower Hill. While these buildings probably saw some use in the years following, by 1752 most of the inhabitants and business had shifted to a place called Little Rest, later Kingston Hill, and at the time Cole Elisha Reynolds, who had acted as jailer for several years, Major Luther Clark, and Mr. William Potter petitioned to the Assembly that the jail and courthouse be moved to Little Rest. They offered, if this was approved, to build a jail there at their own expense. At a later session of the Assembly in May 1752, however, it was voted that a jail be built at Little Rest by the aforesaid petitioners, provided they set up a sizable bond for carrying out the provisions of their petition. Following this, a new jail was built on the north side of the main road, just north of the William French House, and about where the second of the brick apartment houses now stand. It had the sheriff's living quarters on the first floor and cells for the prisoners on the second. About 1785, this jail was reported as getting too small. Business at the taverns were picking up, no doubt. The sheriff was authorized by the Assembly to produce a site of land and construct a new jail. No action seemed to have come of this, except that a two-story addition was built on the west side of the jail then in use. The prisoners were moved into it, as the sheriff complained that housing them on the floor above made it rather disagreeable for his family. In 1792, Samuel Potter, Jonathan Hazard, and Rowland Brown were appointed a committee by the General Assembly to buy a piece of land of the south side of the road, about opposite the jail then in use, and locate a new jail there. By 1793, this committee reported that a new jail of stone had been constructed. This is the front portion of the jail building as it now stands, but again having sheriff's living quarters on the first floor and the prisoners on the floor above. Rowland Brown was at the time sheriff and keeper. About $5,000 had been spent for the construction of the new building, and the old jail was sold to Cyrus French for $75. The arrangement of jail keeper downstairs and prisoners above again was found to be unsatisfactory, so a wooden addition was soon built on the south side of the structure for the prisoners. This was completed in 1803 at a cost of about $1,500. This jail seems to have taken care of the wayward South County folks, most of whom had done no worse perhaps than spend too much time at a local taverns, quite amply until about 1858. At that time it was reported that a new addition for prisoners' quarters was needed, this time to be built of stone. By January of 1860, the stone addition, built by John R. Eldred, father of the late John Raleigh Eldred, had been completed and put into use at a cost of $5,037. The stone part in front built in 1793, and the stone addition in the rear completed in 1860, made up the present building as it stands today. In the addition, the stone blocks of the outside walls were 10 inches deep and 4½ feet long. It has been said cannon balls were embedded between them to prevent them from being pushed out. While there may have been no truth in this report, the plans of the building did call for the stone blocks to be doweled together in some manner. In the cost of materials used, there was a bill of 1,214 2-inch cast iron balls, which were probably substituted for the dowels and set into the walls. Few changes, with the exception of the installation of the modern heating and lighting, took place after the stone addition in 1860. The jail and those who were obliged to spend some time there, not of their own accord, have passed through the care of a number of keepers since the day of its occupation. Just after the Civil War, William William Babcock was sheriff, followed by Charles W. Wilcox, and later by his son, John R. Wilcox, who became High Sheriff of the county. Among the keepers following these were officers Rowland Sherman and Ralph Larkin, Deputy Sheriff George S. Phillips and Fred Bull, and officers Edward Thayer and James Parasio. After the building of the new courthouse at West Kingston in 1895, and the beginning of more rapid transportation by auto between Kingston and the state facilities at Cranston, the jail was used mainly for holding prisoners during a session of the court, and was finally closed in 1957. It was soon after rented to the University of RI for the beginning of their new oceanography project. In February 1961, by the act of the legislation, the jail was officially given to the Pasquamaket Historical Society, although partially occupied by the university until the opening of the oceanography campus at Saunderstown in 1964. Since that time, the society made many improvements and several alterations to the inside of the old building, which now houses a wealth of South Kingstown and Narragansett history. The cells for the men, including a solitary on the lower floor, and for the women on the floor above, remain the same as when the addition was built in 1860. While at times throughout the years the Kingston Jail had been a place of safekeeping for those who transgress the law or disturb the peace, it has also been a home for others, and we are sure no keeper had to look far when he needed someone to mow the lawn, tend the garden, feed the hens, or milk the cows.